All right, Bills fans, buckle up because we need to talk about how this AFC East race is shaping up. And trust me, it's getting wild out there. The Patriots, yeah, those same Patriots that everyone thought were buried, might actually be making some noise again. With a fresh head coach, a shiny young quarterback in Drake May, and an offense that suddenly looks alive under Josh McDaniels, this team isn't playing like a bottom feeder anymore. You look at their upcoming stretch, and it's honestly kind of favorable. They got the Falcons, the Jets, the Giants, and the Dolphins all coming into Foxborough. Then they hit the road for matchups with the Jets and Bengals. If we're being realistic, those are 6 games they could absolutely win. Now, will they go 6 for 6? Nobody knows. Football's unpredictable, and one bad turnover, one missed tackle, can flip everything. But if New England really pulls it off, we're talking about 12 wins on the board, and suddenly the Bills are staring down a legitimate division battle again. After that, the Patriots have those toss-up games, road trips to face the Buccaneers and Ravens, plus that crucial home showdown against the Bills. So let's say they go 6-3 to close out the season, finishing 12-5. That means the Bills are going to need at least 12 wins themselves, maybe even more, to lock down the division crown again. This isn't a cakewalk anymore. And what's crazy is that part of this rise from New England isn't just about talent. It's about circumstance. They're on what's called a last-place schedule, and that's a massive advantage. When you compare those differential games between Buffalo and New England, it's night and day. The Bills get Kansas City, Houston, and Philadelphia, while the Patriots face the Raiders, Titans, and Giants. That's a huge gap in competition, and New England's capitalizing on it. And look, nobody's saying they don't look good. They do. Drake May's showing real poise for a rookie. The offense looks balanced, and that defense is getting back to what Patriot football used to be. But make no mistake, that last-place schedule is doing them plenty of favors. Now, let's shift gears because the Bills are facing a different kind of challenge: injuries. The news about Ed Oliver's torn bicep hit like a punch to the gut. The guy was having an incredible start to the year, dominating the trenches, putting up sacks, tackles for loss, quarterback hits, you name it. He was everywhere. For a player who's matured so much, both on and off the field, this setback just hurts. It's not just losing his production, it's losing the energy and consistency he brought every single snap. And with Daquan Jones still sidelined, DJ Sanders on injured reserve, and the defensive tackle rotation looking thin, this line is starting to feel the weight. Sure, it's great that Larry Ogunjobi is back in the mix. The guy's played over 100 games in this league and brings that veteran presence. But there's no sugarcoating it. Buffalo's defensive front isn't what it was supposed to be. At one point, it looked like the best unit Sean McDermott ever had. Now it's patchwork, and they haven't even had a single game with all their top guys healthy together. So what's next? Well, the trade deadline's coming up, and the big question is whether Buffalo should pivot its focus from wide receiver help to adding another defensive tackle. Personally, I think it's both. You can't just ignore the hole in the line, but you also can't pass up an opportunity to get Josh Allen another weapon. Imagine calling up New Orleans and saying, hey, we'll take Rashid Shaheed and Nathan Shepard. That's a power move. Or maybe make a play for Harrison Phillips, bring him back into the fold. The Bills need reinforcements. There's still a lot of football left, and if they want to make a serious playoff push, they can't afford to limp through the middle of the season hoping guys get healthy on time. Now, speaking of offensive weapons, there's been a lot of talk about this everybody eats mindset that's floating around. The Chiefs are suddenly out here acting like they invented it, which is pretty funny considering Buffalo made that phrase their calling card last season. But let's talk about what it actually means. It's not about every player getting the same number of touches or targets. It's about buying into the system and doing your job even when you're not the one getting the ball. It's about receivers running their clear-out routes hard to open up space for someone else. It's about tight and staying in to block, running backs picking up blitzes, and guys putting in the dirty work without complaining. The best offenses in football aren't necessarily the ones with the most superstars. They're the ones where everyone is unselfish and plays their role to perfection. And that's where Buffalo has to get back to. You can't have guys sulking because they're not the feature player in a given game. You got to have everyone focused on the same goal, winning. And sure, When you look at first-read passing numbers across the league, it's clear that quarterbacks vary a ton in how often they hit their primary option. A guy like Josh Allen is always going to be on the lower end because of his improvisational style. He's not the type to just hit the first open man. He's going to move, extend the play, look for the big shot. That's who he is. So yeah, investing in a top-tier receiver who commands first-read attention makes sense statistically. But at the end of the day, it comes down to chemistry and trust. Allen thrives when he's in rhythm, and he needs receivers who understand how to work off his instincts, not just run a route tree by the book. Now, let's talk about the name that's lighting up trade rumors. Brian Thomas Jr., the idea of him being available is interesting, and honestly, there's probably some truth to it. He's in a situation in Jacksonville where it's a new general manager, new coaching staff, and those guys don't have any attachment to him. That always matters. But if you've watched him lately, you know he's been struggling. The kid's got talent, size, athleticism, production, but he's been shaky in big moments, and that's raised eyebrows around the league. I liked his college tape, but there were red flags. You could see that when the game got physical, he didn't always respond well. That kind of thing doesn't just go away at the pro level. So yeah, if Buffalo can get him at a discount, great. But 2 first-round picks and a young player like Kean? No chance. That's way too steep for a receiver with question marks around his toughness and consistency. I'd rather see a more reasonable deal, something like a second that could become a first if he hit certain marks. That's smart business. But giving up a package like you would for a Micah Parsons-type player, that's just not realistic. What makes this even more interesting is that the Bills actually have some inside info on the guy. Gabe Davis, Ryan Nielsen, and Mitch Morse all spent time with him in Jacksonville, so they know better than anyone what kind of teammate he is, how he works, and whether those concerns are real. If they vouch for him, okay, maybe you explore it further. But if not, it's probably best to look elsewhere. Buffalo doesn't need another project. They need someone who can contribute right now, someone who understands what it means to play in an offense led by Josh Allen and adapt quickly. Now, speaking of Gabe Davis, there's been this idea floating around that maybe the Bills see him as part of the solution to the passing game issues. And look, I get it. He's had chemistry with Josh in the past, especially in the playoffs, making some huge downfield plays. But let's be real, the guy hasn't even practiced yet. He's still on the practice squad, injured reserve, rehabbing that knee. Until he's on the field and healthy, he can't be counted on for anything. So no, his situation shouldn't change Buffalo's approach to the trade market at all. They need help now. But at the same time, if he does get healthy, you have to find a path for him to contribute. The dude has playoff experience and a connection with the quarterback, and that counts for something. You can be critical of his route running or consistency, but you can't deny his knack for showing up in big games. And the injuries, man, they just keep piling up. So many key players are either on injured reserve or heading there. It's gotten to the point where fans are asking if there's even a limit to how many guys can go on IR or come back from it. The answer is no on the first part. You can stash as many players as you want, but you can only bring back 8 during the regular season and 2 more in the playoffs. The Bills still have 6 more return slots available, so they're fine for now, but it's something they've got to manage carefully. You're looking at players like TJ Sanders, Taylor Rapp, Tyler Bass, DeMar Hamlin, and maybe even Ed Oliver as possible return candidates down the stretch. The hope is that at least a few of them get healthy in time for the playoff push because depth is getting thin and this schedule isn't getting any easier. As the Bills get ready for the stretch run, the focus now turns to resilience and adaptability, 2 qualities that have defined this team during the Sean McDermott era. Buffalo has been through adversity before, but this version of the team feels different. The roster is deeper in some areas, but thinner in others, and the margin for mistakes has never been smaller. With the Patriots surging and the Dolphins still explosive, the Bills can't afford to drop the kind of winnable games that have haunted them in past seasons. Every snap matters. Every drive feels like it carries postseason weight, and that urgency has to show up starting now. Josh Allen, as always, is the centerpiece of everything. There's a narrative forming around him again that maybe he's forcing plays, trying too hard to carry the load, and that's fair to some extent. When your defense is banged up and your offensive line is inconsistent, It's natural for a quarterback like him to feel the pressure to do it all. But this is where the Bills need to recalibrate. Allen doesn't have to be Superman every down. What he needs is trust in his receivers, in his running game, in his coaches. Because when he trusts the system and lets the game flow, he's one of the most unstoppable forces in football. When he starts pressing, the turnovers come, the offense stalls, and the team's identity fades. Getting back to balance is key, especially against teams like Kansas City and Philadelphia, who will punish every mistake. Then there's the running game, which continues to be one of the most frustrating puzzles for Buffalo fans. James Cook has shown flashes of brilliance, breaking off big runs and making plays in space, but consistency is still an issue. Ty Johnson brings power and energy, but he's not a feature back. The Bills have to find ways to stay committed to the run, even when it's not producing early. It's not about piling up rushing yards. It's about rhythm, keeping defenses honest, and helping Allen avoid carrying the offense entirely on his shoulders. Too often, Buffalo abandons the ground game when they fall behind or face early frustration, and that predictable rhythm gives opposing defenses a chance to tee off on Allen. Defensively, the storyline has shifted from dominance to survival. Without Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones anchoring the interior, Buffalo's pass rush has lost some of its edge. Greg Rousseau has been solid. Leonard Floyd continues to bring veteran leadership, but the interior collapse just isn't there like it used to be. That makes it harder on everyone. Linebackers get exposed, the secondary has to hold coverage longer, and the defensive rhythm breaks down. This is why a mid-season addition at defensive tackle could be critical. Even a rotational guy who can eat snaps and disrupt the pocket would make a huge difference. The Bills' defense under McDermott thrives on rotation, keeping everyone fresh, and right now, that's not possible. They're running thin, and fatigue is starting to show. The secondary has its own set of issues. Injuries, inconsistency, and communication breakdowns have plagued what was once one of the strongest units in the league. Tre'Davious White's absence still stings, and while Christian Benford and Kyer Elam have had moments, the unit hasn't quite gelled the way fans hoped. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer remain the emotional core, but they're not getting younger, and the team's reliance on them can't go unchecked forever. That's where someone like Damar Hamlin might eventually come back into the mix, bringing fresh legs and heart to a defense that's fighting to stay afloat. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. The NFL rumor mill is buzzing like never before after whispers that Garrett Wilson, the explosive wide receiver, has reportedly flipped the switch and is set to join the Buffalo Bills. If true, this would instantly turn the AFC East into a pressure cooker of drama and tension, igniting one of the fiercest rivalries the league has seen in years. Sources close to the matter say Wilson, who has dazzled fans and analysts alike with his route running and ability to make defenders look silly, has grown frustrated with his current situation and is eyeing a new challenge, one that Buffalo seems eager to offer. The Bills, known for their relentless pursuit of championship contention, could see Wilson as the missing piece in a lineup already stacked with talent. Imagine him lining up alongside Stephon Diggs, stretching defenses, and giving Josh Allen yet another weapon to exploit mismatches. This is the stuff that keeps rival GMs awake at night. What makes this potential move even more tantalizing is the ripple effect it would have across the league. The Jets, Wilson's presumed former home, would feel the sting of betrayal acutely. The drama of a star player defecting to a divisional rival is exactly the kind of narrative that fuels locker room tension and fan frenzy. Social media is already imagining Wilson celebrating touchdowns in Buffalo blue, waving at stunned Jets fans as the Bills surge toward playoff dominance. Analysts speculate that Wilson's decision may hinge on more than just football. It's about legacy, opportunity, and timing. The Bills, consistently knocking on the door of the Super Bowl, could be offering him a stage bigger than he's ever had, while simultaneously striking fear into their division foes. Meanwhile, murmurs suggest contract negotiations have been fast-moving, with Wilson's camp reportedly leveraging interest from multiple suitors to secure a deal that reflects both his talent and his rising star power. While nothing is official yet, the buzz is undeniable. If Garrett Wilson does indeed flip the switch and head to Buffalo, the AFC East will never be the same. Rivalries will burn hotter, playoff scenarios will shift overnight, and the NFL will gain yet another dramatic chapter worthy of watercolor debate. For fans, pundits, and even players, one thing is certain. This story, rumor or not, has all the ingredients of a league-defining moment. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.